All right. Good morning, EL support. So nice to see you this morning. It's Monday, May 11th, and we have 2 more weeks of so-called regular schedule like this. And then there'll be one last, what we're calling finals week. But don't worry, I don't think you'll find there's any finals in any of your classes. And certainly not this one. There will be no final here. So we will keep bumping along doing what we're doing in the meantime. So let's dive right into this marvelous poem that I had you guys look at, the Song of the Powers. First of all, let's remind ourselves what we're looking at specifically. We're looking at literary terms. We've done metaphor and simile, and we're looking at personification. Look at my horribly underlined attempt to highlight the first 6 letters of personification, which are person, meaning that you are giving person-like or human qualities to something non-human. All right? Personification, ladies and gentlemen. In our poem, Song of the Powers, it plays with the game rock, paper, scissors, as we talked about last time, and each of those is personified. It's given a voice. It speaks. A rock can't speak, paper can't speak, scissors can't speak. They're given human qualities for why? For poetic reasons. And in the end, we'll go through this worksheet, and at the end, I want to just sort of meditate on the question of why personification is so effective in this poem. You probably could have expressed what this poem's trying to say in many different ways. This poet chose personification, this type of figurative language, which extends and bends and compresses language, right, to make his point. So why do you do that, and why is it effective? All right, that's what we're basically looking at. First of all, I'd like you to just consider the do now, which was not to write anything down. You can if you want, but just to consider that human beings are hierarchical animals. We're sort of like chimpanzees. We struggle for position and status. We fight wars against each other. Even when we're not at war, we often are competing and fighting a little bit for position, jockeying for power in social situations, right? And we all have different strengths that we bring to the table to sort of make ourselves look better or put ourselves in a higher position, right? Maybe we're weak over here, but we use this part of ourselves, our intelligence, let's say, to establish position, right? Why do human beings do that? I don't know. Maybe we don't have to someday, but in the meantime, here we are. It's humanity. Welcome to it, right? Look at a war like World War I, which was fought really for no other reason than European countries' greed over trying to establish colonies and taking people over. Asia, South America, Africa, right? Everybody's quibbling over colonies. This terribly destructive war, World War I, right? At the end, what do we have to show for it? A bunch of dead people, and it's like a monument to human greed, right? So I think that's a lot of what this poem is trying to talk about. So shut up, Wilcox. Let's see if we can pull a screen share here, and let's look at this marvelous poem. Is that it? Maybe not. And there we go. All right, that's the share. Yep, technology's working more or less. Sharing is paused. Bring your shared window to the front. What does that mean? Let's try this again. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. What happened to my doc? Let's try it again. Share it. Stop share again. And okay, hold on a sec. Just give me a sec, you guys. Okay, but am I screen sharing? Probably not. Okay. Okay. Sorry, everybody. Maybe that's not even the screen share. If you're not seeing the document right now, just follow along, please, and we can just review it. You can review it with your own materials. Okay, but I think we're on here. Okay, first I had you guys define these words. Let me do that real fast. Power, You guys came up with some good definitions. The ability to do something, right? But Song of the Powers, we're talking about different types of power that take things over, that assert control over other human beings, right? I can talk about the power to lift my arm or something, but we're talking about power where you take over other people, where you arise in position, where you're the head honcho, jefe mayor, number one, right? So power, ladies and gentlemen. Smother, what a great word. Sounds like mother. Sometimes mothers do smother, right? But smothering is when you surround somebody with something and then you almost like asphyxiate them. You don't give them any space, right? You can smother someone with a pillow. Maybe you play this with your siblings, where you pin them down and put a pillow over their face. You kind of smother them, right? Careful, you could kill them. Okay, so smothering, you could smother someone to death. All right, someone can smother you with their love. They give you too much love and you're like, I need some space, right? So smother. Obviously, in the poem, we're dealing with smothering as an aggressive action. Reams. Reams are those big old piles of paper, right? You can buy like a ream of 100 sheets of paper. So reams, piles of paper, basically. All right, I get a couple of reams of line paper for you guys every morning in EL support. Gashing, what a marvelous word. Gashing is, it's almost like to stab or cut to pieces, to gash, right? If you gash a human, you're going to be spattering blood and you're gashing them. I think paper is what gets gashed in this poem, but you can imagine getting cut into little pieces, right? Ethereal, another amazing word, ethereal. Ethereal means not worldly, or almost like something that exists in the clouds, something that exists in your imagination, something that exists in heaven or on some kind of spiritual plane, right? Ethereal, wonderful word. Tatter, we're using it as a verb. To tatter is to cut to pieces. So gashing and tattering are really closely related words, right? Tatters are literally shreds or pieces, right? Tatters. Take some scissors to a piece of paper. For a couple minutes, you'll have tatters, and the verb is to tatter. To heap is to pile up. A bunch of stones or something, make a big pile, you're heaping them up. Or in the poem, you heap papers on top of each other, right? Heap, to pile, to make a pile. And lastly, uproot. Uproot is like if something has a root in the ground and you pull it out, you uproot a weed, for example, right? I think in this case, in the poem, you're uprooting a stone, right? But it's the same idea. You're pulling something up out of the ground. You're uprooting it. All right, another marvelous word for that matter. Sounds good. Let's stumble onward. So with our new definitions here, let's go ahead and read the poem again. Read it to you. And again, consider the stone is speaking with a voice. It's a type of power, but it's speaking with a voice. So personification is the tool, figurative language tool this poem's using. Song of the Powers by David Mason. Mine, said the stone, mine is the hour. I crush the scissors, such is my power. Stronger than wishes, my power alone. Mine, said the paper, mine are the words that smother the stone with imagined birds, ream of them flown from the mind of the shaper. Mine, said the scissors, mine all the knives, gashing through paper's ethereal lives, nothing so proper as tattering wishes. As stone crushes scissors, as paper snuffs stone, and scissors cut paper, all end alone. So heap up your paper, and scissor your wishes, and uproot the stone from the top of the hill. They all end alone, as you will. You will. Okay, little haunting ending there that we can talk about. The poem addresses you in the end. Who? Who, me? No, I'm just a reader. No, you. The poet is reaching out there and saying, I'm talking to you, man. And so am I. Okay, so let's go through this. Some of you guys could have given a little more thought to these wonderful questions, but I understand that it's getting late in the year. I wanted to start simple. What child's game is this poem based on? It's the eternal rock, paper, scissors, or Rochambeau, right? It sounds French, but Rochambeau. Okay, what child's game? Rock, paper, scissors. Now we get to the actual speakers. Okay, what type of power does the personified rock represent? So we're looking at what different sorts of exertion of power, or what tools do people use to rise in power so they can rule other people or gain position or status over other people, right? Well, the rock crushes. The rock crushes. Okay, so what sort of power does that suggest or imply? I think it suggests force, strength, physical strength, like I'm going to beat you up, okay? Or I think it suggests military power also. Me and my crew are going to roll up on you, or me and my troops are going to attack your castle, or something like that. We're going to force you, right? That is how we're going to dominate you, or that's how we're going to rise in position above you by force. We're going to beat the hell out of you, right? Or kill you if you don't acquiesce or accept my domination over you, right? So the rock seems to speak with the voice of a military commander or a bully, possibly, right? I will crush you and I will dominate you that way, all right? And the poor scissors just get completely crushed. So again, military might, force, physical strength. This is a type of power. Many people use it both to beat people up and also to gain ascendancy, to intimidate people, all right? Then we get to number 3 is about the paper, all right? Mine, said the paper. Mine are the words that smother the stone with imagined birds, reams of them flown from the mind of the shaper. So the stone is smothered by the paper. It's surrounded by, and of course in the game, right? You know, paper covers stone. So imagine it asphyxiates it, or it makes it so it can't breathe. It covers it. What does it cover it with? Well, paper. But that doesn't make much sense. Mine are the words that smother the stone with imagined birds. Imagine all these birds of paper flying and as if covering the rock, right? I think that you could say that this represents a different sort of power. What sort of power would come from paper? Well, ideas, or even art, poetry, like this, perhaps. A fantastic story that can kind of seduce you or capture your attention. That the might of the rock is sort of deadened by these brilliant ideas or imaginations. I think what else is on paper that has power? Laws, right? And political thinkings. So I think it could be a legal form of power as well. Maybe you're a lawyer, maybe you're a lawmaker. Do laws have power? Yeah. They encode our beliefs in powerful things. And if you don't obey the law, then I guess they can send the cops after you or something, right? But I like this possibility that it's poetry also, or the world of imagination, the world of academia, the world of intellectualism, or the world of written art, right? That ideas have power, and that people can use their brains, their ideas and imaginations to gain respect from people, to rise up in status, and perhaps compete and gain power that way, right? So the paper, ladies and gentlemen, the paper is given a voice. It is personified. And if you only learn one thing from this whole lesson, I want you to learn this personification business. You'll see it all over the place. Writers do it all the time, right? Number 4, we get to the scissors, okay? What type of power does the personified scissors represent? Mine, said the scissors, mine all the knives, gashing through papers, ethereal lives, nothing so proper as tattering wishes, okay? So the scissors seem to destroy the paper's ethereal lives. Remember, ethereal means not material, like in the world of thought or the imagination. So that reinforces what we were saying about our theory about what we think the paper might represent. But the scissors gashes that, it tatters it, it cuts through it, right? And it says nothing so proper as tattering wishes. So it suggests, again, that maybe the paper is speaking with desires, wishes, hopes, dreams, things that are articulated through law, but also through poetry and these other things that are written on paper or now captured on digital screens, right? So what sort of power might the scissors be? Gashing through the paper. I thought about this one. This one is puzzling a little bit, but I think it is the capacity to criticize or be critical, to be cynical, to be hopeless, for someone to express a great idea and then you just like destroy. So that couldn't happen. You just totally take a crap on it, right? It could be somebody who investigates laws. It could be someone who rises up against laws, who attacks laws and ideological systems and systems of ideas and systems of beliefs even, right? So the scissor is the critic or the one who wants to just destroy. Again, I think using the mind, right? So something like this is this meditation on power, 3 different types of power. Which of these forms of power do you use? Which of these forms of power have been used on you, right? Why do human beings seek to position themselves above other people, right? These are the questions that good art, good poetry is going to ask you about human beings. that you're looking in a mirror to some extent. You should see yourself mirrored in this ridiculous power game. Not because you're not a good person, I love you guys, but I mean, we're human beings, and this is an aspect of our functioning, right? So 5, what does the last stanza say about power? As stone crushes scissors, as paper snuffs stone, and scissors cut paper, all end alone. So heap up your paper and scissor your wishes and uproot the stone from the top of the hill. They all end alone, as you will. You will. Okay. So paper fight, scissors, scissors fighting, stone, everybody's fighting, bloodshed, chaos, pain, all this stuff. What does it matter? Somebody wins. Hey, you're in power. Congratulations, right? Do you stay in power forever? No. Someone's going to game you. There's always somebody who's going to come up from some other direction you didn't think about and take you out. But what the poem ultimately reminds you is that we all die alone. Is that true? We all die alone. Well, even if you believe it in the afterlife, yeah, the moment of death, you are alone. You got to confront that yourself, right? And all the power in the world, all the material goods, all the things that you've taken by force, by guile and intelligence and wit, none of that stuff is going to go on. In the end, no matter how powerful you are, you're still going to die alone, and you're still going to have to confront, what lies beyond, the great question for human beings, right? What happens when you die? Do you preserve in some form the being you are now? Could it be just darkness and silence? I don't know. The poem doesn't go there, but the poem reminds you that this power game in the end is pointless. It's pointless. You might have power for now, you won't have power tomorrow. And in the end, you die. And you don't take any of that stuff with you. You die alone. And you know what? You do too. You do. You do too. All right. This chilling moment where the poem reaches out and grabs you by the shirt and says, hey, you're not, immune from this either. You're implicated in this, human being. We all are involved in this by virtue of the fact that here we are in a human state. Okay. So really, in the end, it's pointless. This power game, this jockeying for position. What a stupid waste of time, perhaps, and energy, the poem seems to be suggesting. 6, this poem is about trying to get power is named after a children's game. Why? I think what the poet is trying to say is adults struggling for power are like a bunch of 5-year-olds in a sandbox fighting over a toy. It's absurd, right? It's like, 2 bald men fighting over a comb or something. It's absolutely pointless. And children, we could understand if they want to get petty and fight and all that stuff, but adults supposedly should know better. And I hate to be the one to tell you, but adulthood, with all of its maturity and all that stuff, that's largely a fiction. Many times I still feel like a 17-year-old kid. I mean, we're all still fundamentally struggling through life, and we don't know everything. And we have this power game, this puppet show that we think we're supposed to participate in. Hey, maybe that's not important. Maybe there's better things in life than fighting and jockeying for position all the time. Because in the end, we all end alone, as you will. You will. Okay, not to beat it to death. So why does the poet use personification? Well, think about this. Each of these forms of power, they think that they're important. They think that they're getting some sort of immortality, or they think that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, but we can really see that in their voice. And then the poet pulls out from these first-person voices, these personified voices, and shows you what's really going on. But we see the mental state of each of the actors or competitors struggling and fighting for power. They speak with the voice of, I'm a badass, I'm the man, I'm it, but no, there's someone else who's about to take them out, right? So personification, I would say, is used by the poet because it's so effective in giving a voice to these impulses to power, and that we can rise, that we all know. But then in the end, you pull out from them, and the poet gives you this more third-person narrative perspective on the whole thing of, look, this is just an insane, violent children's game, right? The leaders of European countries in World War I, but what a bunch of children throwing temper tantrums and throwing thousands of men to be slaughtered against each other for nothing but their own ego, the glory of their own generals, and the sort of patriotic and nationalistic fervor of their own country, their own belief that their country is better than everybody else. you know, that the Germans or the French are somehow inherently better than everybody else, right? So personification is the perfect tool to use in this poem to express those voices of power, and then to meditate upon the fact that, man, these people are deluded. These people do not know what's up. These people are fighting a dangerous game. And in the end, it doesn't mean anything. It's a terrible way to spend your time on earth, perhaps, right? Anyway, that's what the poem seems to be saying, okay? So I'll give you guys another brief poem on Thursday. In the meantime, it's Monday. Between now and Thursday, I would like you guys simply to do a dear log, all right? If you're reading stuff for your other class, your other English class, that's fine, use that, all right? Again, this is supposed to support your other class, and so I can incentivize you reading for your other class. Then just give me a nice dear log, half-page minimum, and we can continue this sort of one-off. I assign you a little poem, we do a little bit of literary term and literature work, and then give you guys a chance to do some free reading without burdening you too much, hopefully, with work. All right. Ooh, it was an overcast weekend. It's a beautiful day out there. I realize I'm not supposed to suggest you go outside, but maybe get some sun on your flesh. It's always a beautiful thing. All right. You guys take care, and give me a dear log between now and Thursday, please. And I will drop another little treat on your plate this next Thursday, another poem. Literary term. Take care, you guys.